Welcome to Stay Sparked. On this show, we explore how to stay inspired in the modern world through the most profound lessons from Burning Man, relationships, entrepreneurship, psychedelics, spirituality, travel, and more.
On today's episode, we talked about romance and how do we start and continue a relationship with heat and romance and sparks.
We talked about all kinds of fun, creative ways to keep that romance alive in long-term partnerships and also in the dating.
We also touch on the importance of romance, keeping that alive, and the little things we can do to keep things burning that aren't actually so little.
Enjoy the episode. Hello out there, and welcome to Stay Sparked. We are three longtime friends who have been inspiring each other and lighting each other up for over a decade, and we are here to share conversations to inspire and light you up. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for spreading the sparks as well by sending these podcasts out to your friends and leaving us reviews on Apple Podcasts. Always so grateful to share this inspiration. I'm Betsy.
I'm HALCYON.
And I'm Janus.
I am the founder of the Power Affirmation Project, teaching life skills for sustainable happiness.
I am a love ambassador who shares wisdom through t-shirts, podcasts, a YouTube channel called Hug Nation.
And I am the founder and CEO of a nutritional supplement company titled New World Nutritionals. We have mushroom-based products designed to elevate and improve your state of mind.
Amazing. Well, we always love starting off these conversations with gratitude. Always a wonderful way to start any conversation. So, Janus, what are you grateful for today?
Today, I am grateful for moments of solitude. I've got a partner who's wonderful. We live together, and I'm pretty busy with work and such. But every now and again, a couple times a week, I'll get a moment of or a complete day of solitude where my partner is gone for about 24 hours, and I can just kind of be still and silent in my place. And it's really, I get about maybe one or two of those days a week, and I cherish those days. They're great because it's a loud world, so it's nice to be able to have some peace and quiet and silence and solitude where I can just attend to, my own stuff, my own affairs. So definitely feeling gratitude for that.
So good. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Halcyon?
I am grateful for some time I spent yesterday with a couple that had been together for 53 years and was sharing this active love affair and their processes of really deeply pursuing, adoring, and being dedicated to one another. That I just was so inspired. So I'm grateful for time spent with Dawn and Martha yesterday.
So beautiful. So much inspiration. 53 years. Wow. Well, I will share in a similar thread. I'm really grateful for one-on-one time with people that I love and care about, and also with new friends. So I really cherish one-on-one time with people. I made some space last weekend to go have a couple of lunch dates and a couple of beach walks, and I just really always gain so much inspiration from those conversations that I have with people. And sometimes it's hard to schedule, of course, because there's a finite amount of time in each week, and we're all busy people. But sometimes just 45 minutes to an hour with somebody is just so inspiring, and I just feel those conversations just leave a ripple or trail of insight and considerations throughout my week and many days ahead. So I'm really grateful for my one-on-one time with my friends.
Yay.
All right. Well, on today's episode, we decided to talk similar about relationships, but really in the vein of romance. In today's day and age, what does romance mean? Modern romance, how do we experience romance? Does it make a difference in our lives? There's so much to unpack on this conversation, especially since all three of us have been on the journey of dating and being in long-term, short-term relationships. So I'm excited to unpack this conversation with you guys. And so as the woman in this conversation, I'm so curious from you guys, around your experience of being a man in the dating world. I'm sure you guys both have dated plenty before you found your long-term partners, and just curious on how has that felt for either of you, being a man in relationship to a woman in romance.
Oh boy. Well, it's an interesting thinking about historically how I've felt about dating and how I've grown into it as I feel like I'm becoming more and more who I am. And I think that my early dating was really scarred and really damaged by a, a, a fear of being too much and fear of being like that guy that is coming on too strong. And I think that I was way too timid in my early years and early dating, and would often wait until I was pursued or wait until there was like an obvious sign. And I really feel like I missed out on a lot of connecting with beautiful people because I was, I think, overly sensitive to what women have to go through in our culture about being hit on so much. And so I think that I never found the right way to hit on someone without it being hitting on someone. How do I start
Mm,
a connection with a potential beautiful human being without making their experience feel a burden, by being
mm,
a woman in the world?
mm. That's
Mm.
so fascinating, right? Because it's not taught. Not like in
No.
school, there's a class that says, okay, here's a class for everybody to learn how to approach somebody that you're interested in dating or being intimate with.
Well, and
You
the
have to
ones that
figure
are
it out.
teaching, and the ones that are teaching pickup artist stuff.
Right.
And I
Uh,
don't I don't want to be that. I don't want to be
yeah.
like, oh, so let me neg you and let me make you feel bad so that you want to date me, which is that I can go online and I can learn how to do that, but that's not
Mhm.
what I want to be.
Mm.
Mhm.
No. And I kind of came at it from maybe the opposite direction of Halcyon. I probably could have been a little more concerned about women's experience in the whole dating realm. And the idea of romance, I wasn't like ever like committed or on the track of being a full term pickup artist or anything like that. But I definitely was like looking into that. I had my lines like practiced and rehearsed. I'd be in the bars, like trying to meet women, and met quite a few. And it's but there was that was part of my own journey of like self-love, and realizing that there was a lot of self-love lacking in that. And so for me, like seeking this external validation and putting way too much on women who already have like so much in this world that they have to deal with, as opposed to some guy trying to get some love that he's missing in his life, and be my source of love. Oh my gosh. So I look back a little bit of cringe in my early
Mm.
my early 20s, and frankly even up to like early 30s as well. But came around, and now it's a point. And now I'm feeling good about that, and with how I tend to approach the idea of romance, and how that's important for everybody.
That's so powerful reflections. Something sparks for me hearing that because there's this very interesting feeling of giving. I'm going to use the example of giving a rose, right? This is a gesture of romance. Like giving a rose to somebody is kind of saying like, "Hey, I like you," right? And it also can come with this other part that you spoke to, right? Around actually, can you fill a void?
Mm.
I'm lacking love within myself, so I'm gonna make this gesture of romance to get somebody else to fill something inside of me, right? And it's a very subtle, a lot of times unconscious act, right? And so I know I personally have felt that as a woman. I've noticed certain times where a guy would try and ask me out or do something elaborate to impress me or whatever, but it was coming from a place of insecurity, and I could feel that. It's a very interesting, to be sensitive to that. And it's yeah, it's an interesting kind of journey to be on, to be able to self-reflect on that. That's cool that you've been able to see that old part of you who used to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I gotta say it. I think a lot of that coincided with my introduction and experience of Burning Man. It's so funny how so much of my life like comes back around to that, that chapter of my life being a real marker and really a real like eye opener to how I approach things. And the main lesson for me coming with my Burning Man experience was about, we've spoken about it before, authenticity and inauthenticity and how that applies to so many parts of my life. And so getting that lesson, being like, wow, it's like I'm better off being authentic, and whoever vibes with it vibes with it, and who doesn't, that's fine. And then applying that into the area of romance, being like, oh, I don't have to like come with all these lines and flowers and this, that, and the other thing. Just, what's your good opening line? Good opening line is, hi, my name is so and so. I'd like to meet you, or what's your name? Whatever. Just being authentic and letting it flow from that way. The results you get from that, I think we all know at this point, are just, they just feel better. They just feel better for me.
Yeah. It's so interesting as you're talking. I'm thinking about when you are using lines or worse, tactics, or there's I think you're trying to get to a destination that is like a score, or a filling a void. I want this hit of I want to win them over, or I want to sleep with them. But if the destination is partnership, then it doesn't make any sense to try to have a presentation, impress with something that isn't authentic, because you can't live in a state of performance forever.
Mhm.
You need, if you want something sustainable, you have to pretty darn quickly say, this is what I'm selling. It's this, exactly this, and if you don't like this as it is, then eventually we're going to have problems.
Mm. Yes, and to add on to that, because you can be you in your friendships, right? Or I can be who I am in my friendships. And when that person comes into your life that there's an extra charge, how do we express that? Right? So this is where romance comes in, these gestures of I don't know, of interest or of flirtation or of, the little extra sparkles, right? And so one of the things I've been really fascinated by in my own personal journey has been like how to cross over, right? Because I've had a lot of male friends that have always been in the friend zone. And I, was always curious. I wonder maybe something would be there, but nobody ever says anything. And so we're just being friends forever, And so where is that the authentic expression of romance coming through to be able to shift over, right? And so I feel like this day and age, yeah, how to do that without the like, yeah, like you're saying, the pickup lines or the like, okay, you got to read this book and say, okay, you got to, somebody calls you, then you have to wait a certain amount of time to respond. Or if somebody texts you 5 words, you can only text 5 words back. It's this game, right? It's like
Yeah.
crazy. I actually was talking to a male friend of mine. He's reading one of those books. And it was like, oh,
Mm.
wow, there are certain things in there that says like, well, if you're really interested in her, then you have to ask her out for a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but not a weekend. Because if you ask her out on the weekend, then that's too much. It's just all this psychological stuff that seems to like muck up or confuse people in a way.
Hmm.
And it's like, how do we get to that place of authenticity that is of playful romance?
Mm. Well, I feel we gotta be careful with this whole, like, when we approach romance as like a game, or I'm gonna win her over. We need to, the whole idea of like your words like matter, like, your words are like casting a spell and things. If we treat like romance like a game has a winner and a loser. And if we're trying to win somebody over, like if we play the game right, that means we win. Well, okay, but a game has a winner and loser. So if you win, who lost? So, and we gotta be careful about this stuff, and like just throw all that stuff away and just be. Now there's a fine line between relating authentically with somebody. And also, the idea, like, you never meet somebody new, like you don't meet who that person is for a while until like you're interacting, because you're kind of meeting that person's agent. You're meeting the best version of themselves. And that's not necessarily inauthentic. It's like, I'm trying to, like, I've got my stuff. We all have our stuff. I don't necessarily need to bring my stuff to the table on date number 2 or date number 3. Is like, well, okay, if this is, if this is meant to be, if this is going to unfold, we're going to get there. I'm going to learn about their stuff. They're going to learn about mine. We don't necessarily have to unpack all that right away. Although some people like to do that as well. Like on that very first date, like, okay, here I am. Here's my stuff. And that whole, like, saying, like, if you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. It's like, well, okay, whether or not we bring our worst to the table, like, right away, as an individual choice. But I don't necessarily feel it's inauthentic to kind of like wait a while to unpack the fullness of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's and I think that even those decisions and those choices are help determine if it's a good match. I mean, there are some people who are so craving realness and so craving um I mean, I think anyone that would date me is going to know pretty darn quickly, warts and all. It's just not, I just don't tend to have a best facade forward, that so, if we hang out for a few hours, I'm going to feel more comfortable if I've showed my underbelly a little bit. And if the other person is that scary to them, or it's like, I really need to be, I want to feel more comfortable seeing your best first, then that I feel like it's the dating is effective in that way, and it has showed that we are probably not in the right place to getting too
Yeah.
much deeper.
Mhm.
Intention is powerful, super powerful. I feel like, here we are talking about dating and exploring, and also like the elements of romance and where that plays a part in all of this. Personally, I feel like there's not a whole lot of information out there on romance. I know I have gotten stumped at times when I'm in a relationship and I want to do something romantic for my partner to make them feel special, and like get creative and do little surprises. And I actually was encouraging one of the amazing men that I dated for quite some time to write a book on romantic ideas, because it is, takes a lot of creativity to do something that is coming from that authentic heart, that is coming from a place of creativity, that is to honor your partner, to honor the person that you're dating, to make them feel really special. Because isn't that what romance is about? We want to make the person that we're attracted to or that we care about, that we love, feel really special, right? So how do we
Yeah,
do that?
I think that my basic, guideline for that is to practice genuine presence, either in their presence or away from them, and then it's some expression. So and it doesn't have to be grand. I don't have to, create some massive piece of art, but even, as you said, like writing a note before I see them and then leaving that in their purse. Like, if they knew that at one point I was thinking about them, that's a super romantic gesture. At the same time, if I'm in their presence and I pause whatever we're doing, look in their eyes and say something that is an observation or a sharing of some deep, truthful, authentic appreciation of that person, that's super romantic. It doesn't take that much, but just to stop the world and be the focus for a moment,
Hmm.
and then however that looks is have to do our personal creativity.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yeah. And I feel, that the idea that, presence is romantic, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I find that listening and then kind of like paying attention during that initial like conversation or even that initial meetup, like, okay, let's say you guys meet cute at the bookshop, and then you set a date for coffee or whatever. You could then, if you were paying attention, you might notice what book she had in her hand or what section she was in, and be like, hey, so there's this book that I like. Or even if it's not, just, something that she was expressing interest in, something that is that you like, that has value to you. And that doesn't have to be some big grand gesture, but it's like, hey, there's this thing that I like. Thought you might like that as well. But then also paying attention to, in those first meetings, you can kind of get a hint on, I don't want to like bang the drum too much on like the 5 love languages, but you can get a pretty good idea what love language somebody's speaking or what resonates with them during those, even that initial meeting, if not the following conversation. Pay attention to that, because there's some people that are like not that keen on receiving gifts at all, and sometimes even especially early in a relationship, you run the risk of love bombing somebody. So
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be like you have to drop stuff on them, but you just like something that shows that you have been paying attention. And
Gestures, yeah.
gestures, yeah, whether it's like these like a note is fine, or like suggesting a certain follow for the following date, because they don't like coffee, but they like chai, or they like tea. It's like, hey, let's go get some
Yeah.
tea, and da da da. So yeah,
Mhm.
paying attention is super sexy and super romantic.
Totally. You actually sparked a romantic idea that I have shared in different situations. This is a really good one for a date. So you set up your date to meet at the bookstore, and the intention is to you connect, and then you take 10 minutes or so, 5 or 10 minutes on your own, and go find your top 5 books in different sections, right? Whether you've read them or you want to read them, or just what are the 5 books that really are drawing you. And then you go meet somewhere and sit at like one of the chairs or a little cozy spot and share with each other why you chose these certain books. And it's a really cool way to get to know somebody. It's really fun way to get to just put a little play in a date. And then also, you kind of sparked this other consideration around the gestures, right? It's like love bombing versus just like a gesture, right? It's like, do you bring a dozen roses to somebody, or do you bring one? I went out with this guy one time, and it was actually quite confusing because I couldn't quite tell if he was asking me out on a date or if it was just a walk, or we were just friends because we were just friends. But then he asked me to go to the beach and have dinner, and I was like, I kind of think this is a date. I'm not sure. And then when I get there, he's dressed a little bit nicer than normal. So then I'm like, oh, maybe this is something that I don't know. And then he has a rose in his hand, and he's like, I found this on the ground on the way when I walked over here. And here, I'm like, oh, okay. Still a little bit confused. You found it on the ground. You're giving it to me. Does this mean you like me? I'm not quite sure what these messages are. So I feel like there is something really important as a woman to have clear gestures,
Yes.
not to love bomb, but clear gesture, like the difference between saying, hey, we should hang out sometime versus, hey, I would really love to take you on a date sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Bam. That's
Very
old.
different.
That's the part of the old me. I wish I had got that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
You mentioned the 5 books. I absolutely love that idea. And I want to just another similar one that I've done with success is go to a grocery store or to a store and say, let's each go get 5 things that we want to feed to each other, and then
Ooh,
check out separately. Or go to a
I love
99-cent store and say, let's go get 5 99-cent things that have textures that we're going to rub on each other's body.
that. I don't know if I would do that at the 99-cent store, but
You,
maybe
don't
maybe
knock
some
until
other
you try it.
more like luxury fabrics and oils and
You
delicious
would
things like that.
you would be surprised what you could find at a 99-cent
Oh, you
store.
can get those little 99-cent like feather dusters kind of thing. That could
Yeah, a
be
little
Yeah,
scratchy. It's got to be look. Okay,
totally.
Betsy, I think it's a date. Betsy, I think we got a date.
Okay, yep, totally. All right.
The
I
other
have
thing
a, oh, go
I would
ahead.
say about the gestures is like when you mentioned, is it a dozen or one flower? Ideally, you listen and there's a certain flower they like, or a certain thing. Like
Mhm.
I had recently uh, on a date, a woman asked if I had a tea light for something, and I did not. And so next time I saw her, I gave her a gift of a single tea light. And she thought it was quite romantic and charming that I had paid attention, that I was listening. And so I think that gift was way more romantic than a dozen roses, because I was trying
Mhm.
to, join her in her
Mhm.
offering. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that actually sparked something for me too around some gifts that I've received. So I was dating this guy a while back, and it came around the time of a holiday, and we were gonna do gifts, and we're still getting to know each other. And he gave me this gift that he said he went to like six different stores to pick out. It was this whole thing. He didn't know what to get me. It took him hours to figure out what to get me. He got me this necklace. He gave me the necklace. It was very sweet. I didn't actually like the necklace, unfortunately. I didn't say anything right away. I was just like, oh, that's just so sweet. It's a really beautiful gesture. It actually didn't feel good. It was like hard, and I didn't say anything. But I received it. And then like a little bit later, he's like, "Oh, I also got you something else that I just felt more inspired. I gathered this pile of sticks and I wrapped them up and made it look really cool, like this thing." And I was like, "Oh my God, I love sticks. You know how much I love sticks." You know, because he was paying attention when we had gone on a hike before. I was like,
Mm,
"Wow, look at that stick. Oh my gosh, look at this one." And I made a bouquet of sticks just on our hike. And he paid
mhm.
attention to that, and it was really a beautiful gesture. And it was I waited about a week and was like, I thought about the necklace. I really appreciate it so much, and want to actually let you know I probably won't wear it. And it worked out perfect because he was able to go exchange it, and now I have the sticks hanging in my house.
That's
So
so
it's
cool.
like the paying attention and noticing, and like, if it's coming from that place of ease and inspiration, then it's usually going to work out. If it's coming
Mm,
from like muscling it, it's hard, it's trying to figure something out, then it's like maybe just relax a little.
yeah,
You
yeah.
also touched on something that I think is a critical part of the romantic process, which is that you were honest with him. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if your relationship continued, you could have a whole closet full of similar jewelry because he thought that he gave you something that you liked, you know. But by being
Mm-hmm.
honest, he gets to actually know what you really like and who you really are, and then you can build off
Yeah,
that instead of continuing this facade for indefinitely.
Yeah. And
totally.
so do we think that most men appreciate honesty from a woman in
Mm.
this regard? Now, this is a whole separate topic. So,
Yeah,
but I
well,
think
yeah.
and I think any man worth being with has got that piece worked out for himself. That it's like, okay, so if I do something for somebody and they don't appreciate it, or it doesn't resonate with them, I would like to know about it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to get caught up in that. And so I think every man, every boy needs to get themselves to this place where they just don't take this stuff so personally, even though it is directly like, I do not like this gift that you gave me. Don't
Mm-hmm.
process it that way. It's like, oh, okay, so she let you know you should be thankful that somebody cared enough to be honest with you. So
Mm.
and this is
Yeah.
without, this goes beyond gender, certainly.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, we should be
I can
definitely
speak to that.
resonate
I
with
can
those
definitely
things.
speak to that because I've learned a lot on that. And one of the things I have found is that there's a grace that comes when giving feedback, especially when we're talking about like a gesture of generosity or a gift, right? Because I've been burned where, I've been given a very special gift. It was very thought out, but I didn't really like it. And I said, "Oh, thank you." And oh, I don't, and I said almost right away that it wasn't something that I would like or wear. And it came off as hurtful to the person. It was hard for him to receive that. And so I learned actually to just pause and just to receive the gesture for what it is in
Mhm.
gratitude, even though I might not like the physical thing in the moment. Just like breathe with it, recognize it as a gift that's coming my way, and then allow that person to give that gift, right? And then wait. So this is what I did with the necklace, where I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so thoughtful that you went to all these places to pick something out. You were thinking of me. I received that. So grateful that you were considering me in all these ways. Thank you." I waited a week,
Mhm.
and then I made sure that the setting that our conversation was good. It wasn't like we both were tired or hungry or rushing or anything. I waited for the moment and was like, "Hey, you know what? I wanted to let you know I had put this necklace on a couple of times this week, and I just felt all the love that you put into it, but I also wanted to let you know I don't think it's actually going to be something I'll wear." And he was able to hear me so much more gracefully and kindly, and it didn't like, it wasn't sharp. Whereas if he would have given it to me in that, in that moment, I would have said, "Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's not really my style." And we're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, crush, all that time and energy that I put into getting you something." So there's definitely something as the receiver, whether you're a man or a woman, to be mindful around how we deliver that kind of honest feedback. I
Mhm.
think that's a really key component.
That is a key component for sure. Very astute.
That was like
You
a
are
master
right.
class you just gave, Betsy. That was fucking awesome. Yeah. Because it is delicate. And because what you're saying is like, I absolutely appreciate you giving me this gift.
Mhm.
End. Point.
Hmm.
Now, the next point is in the future, it's not a gift that is going to be something that, is that I'm going to use that much. It doesn't
Hmm.
change the fact of my appreciation. And,
Hmm.
but if you put those two close together, it, uh,
Hmm.
it does not work. Yeah. I
Because
mean,
they
Exactly. And
because they are two different processes. So
yeah.
it
yeah,
is very important. It's very important to separate the two. So well done, Betsy.
thank you. And it goes back to just being aware of the person that you're spending this time with, being sensitive to who they are, how they operate, because maybe it is somebody that is like not as sensitive, like, and you can be a little bit more direct. Maybe it's someone you've been with for a really long time. And so it does take that subtle awareness of how that person might receive it, you know.
Mhm. So we've been discussing romance like in the initial like meetings with somebody or in the
Early
the
stages.
the early stages. So what do we have to say about romance in the later stages? Like, is that
Mm.
something that we should pay attention?
Yes.
How do we pay attention to like keep that going? And I obviously I think yeah, it's important, but yeah, how important is it? And it's what do we do to kind of keep that flowing? So
Mm. I feel like it's so important. I feel like it is fuel for longevity and partnership, to create special moments, to make your partner feel special, to, create that sacred time together. I lived with a couple for about 7 years. They've been together for I think almost 14 years now. I was actually in their wedding, very up close and personal with these dear friends. And I really hold their love very high because they prioritize their date nights. They really are very busy people, but their date night is essential. And they even have a kid, and they make sure to always come back to that special time, and they have their rituals, and they do different things for each other, and they make time to massage each other, and they, do these very special things to make love and to just nurture the romance in their long-term partnership. And I see just how valuable that is to their their connection, because they of course are like just like anyone, they have their fiery moments and there's challenges and they go to counseling and stuff like that. But I feel like that date night and that commitment to their romance is absolutely an essential ingredient to them being together now.
It goes back to the presence. I think that it's the trap that I've fallen into is, you know, in a relationship for a while, you're living together and you're together all the time. And so, maybe one partner's like, we don't do anything together. And you're like, we do everything together,
Mhm.
but it's different to set a container where in that container you're fully present to the relationship and to that other person. And um, whether it's date night, whether a friend who gave a gift to their wife that I will give you a 5 minute massage at the end of every day, and she has to ask for it, but I'm like, holy moly, that is awesome,
Mhm.
but like
Mhm.
this, like there is any that presence thing, like if you show the person that in this moment you are everything, that is going to be romantic, however it looks.
Yeah, turn your phone off. Right? Like,
yeah.
hey, guess what? We're gonna have a date night. And that means we both leave our phones in the other room and it's just only about you and me. Here's a really great thing that couples can do that I learned from this really great community called Eden. Rano and Sierra started it. They support couples globally to be able to keep their romance alive and a lot of other things for couples. But one of the things that they teach is this 5 minutes of anything. And so you set the container, you put your phones away, you know that you're going to be just together for a certain amount of time, and you each get a chance to ask for 5 minutes of anything. And so if I were to go, then I could ask, well, I'd love 5 minutes of a foot massage, or if he's asked, I would like 5 minutes of eye gazing, or 5 minutes of wrestling, or maybe some other little playful naughty things, it's just really depending on what you each need.
So yeah, it's interesting. I'm familiar with the Eden group that she mentioned. And yeah, they're really big on the romance tip. So yeah, they got some good tips. So interesting in that my current relationship, I'm with somebody who we've been friends for we were friends for about 10 years before we got into um, a romantic relationship. And it's been great. But it's also been very easy for us to kind of fall into, I think it probably fell into a routine maybe a little bit faster than we might have if we had met and gotten romantic right away, as opposed to connecting with somebody who we know each other very well, we're friends, and so we fell into the day-to-day routine of living together and handling things. So romance definitely kind of slipped a little bit. At least I'll speak for myself. It kind of fell by the wayside for me to express things romantically to her. But I feel like we're also spending some time to get back to that, and kind of being there for it, because like Betsy says, it is important. It is important at all stages of a relationship, and it's easy. It's one of the first things I think of, that once we kind of settle into a groove, it's one of those things that's super easy to let fall by the wayside. So those things of authenticity and paying attention and listening are crucial throughout the relationship. And that's true, true for all our relationships, friendships, family relationships, but particularly with romance. We definitely are well served to pay attention.
It's the little things too, like opening the door for your beloved, male
Mm.
or female. I always feel really special when somebody I'm with opens my door, in the car or restaurant or whatever it is. It's a chivalry. That's those little tiny gestures that make a really big difference.
It comes back
Yeah.
to make it about Burning Man again, gifting, like when you get joy from someone else's joy, you give somebody something and they feel good, plus one, you feel good seeing them enjoying it, plus one. And so little bitty things that when you're keeping your head on a swivel looking for, is there a little way I can make their moment better? Opening the door. There's a little way I can make their day better. I'll get the coffee going. Is there a little bit of way I can make the day better? I know that, we're running late. I'm going to make the reservation. Just little bitty things that are not
Mhm.
overt gifts, but it is gifting. It's just trying to see the joy that you get from enhancing the other's experience.
Yeah. And it's easy. It's to make somebody feel loved and appreciated, and kind of get them going oh, kind of that little tinge of romance is not hard. Like Betsy's saying, it's I've long been a person who opens the door and walks on the street side of the sidewalk, and these little things that seem kind of inconsequential are really not. It just kind of shows that you actually are caring about this person. And I remember the first time I got flowers from a woman, which still, I mean, I think it probably has happened. A number of times I've gotten flowers from a woman, I can probably count on one hand. It's just not something that happens. But because I think women don't think that men would appreciate that. But every time I have been blown away, it's like, oh my God, wow, thank you. It's nothing. This has to be some fancy bouquet. It's just the simple fact that somebody's giving me flowers. Oh, I like that. So yeah, it's it doesn't. So it goes, yeah, it flows both ways. Those really small gestures are not so small. They definitely add up, and and it kind of goes back to the saying, people may not remember what you did for them, but they always remember how you made them feel.
Mhm.
So if somebody is giving me these good feelings, I'm inclined to give them those same feelings,
Hmm.
or
Mm.
try to, at least.
Yeah, so beautiful. The heart speaks in flowers.
That's well said.
Yeah, well, I love this conversation and probably could keep going, but let's find some closing sparks on modern romance. What do
Hmm.
you guys got? What are your closing sparks?
I'm just, it is an odd time when we have so much technology and awareness that has kind of infiltrated this age-old process of, connecting with a fellow human, and with swiping and with profiles and with even, I mean, those are kind of the scary parts. Then there's the positive parts where we have the there's so much more information about trauma and about love languages, and there's you can really deeply, with someone who is willing to do work with you, you can very quickly really get to know somebody and work through the things I think that just 10 years ago could have been big obstacles. So there's it's such a different field of connecting, but at the end of the day, it comes back to what we keep coming to, which is being present, and being vulnerable and present with another human being that is living in romance. And
Mm,
I'm going to be practicing that as much as possible.
beautiful. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, Halcyon really kind of summed it up, summed it up pretty well. So it's there's a lot of, yeah, it's tricky. It can be tricky these days, just with so many draws for our attention. It's not like you have to actually kind of commit to being being romantic and trying to keep that romance in life. It's one of the first things. It's such an easy thing to really drop out of our connection with people, but it's value. It has a lot of value to it, and showing up for somebody, it's I like to think that I do it not because of who they are, but because of who I am, because that's how I want to show up in the world. That's how I want to show up for this person. So it's not a matter of deserving, or is it that you're trying to get something out of it. It's just because because ultimately it makes me feel good. It makes
Mm.
me feel good to know I'm showing up for my partner, or even like just a regular date, on showing up in ways that I would consider to be romantic, regardless of how it's received or appreciated. You don't, it's a true gift. Romance should be a true gift. So a gift is something that you give with zero expectation of what comes
Mm.
out of that, or what comes from that. So yeah, so treat romance as a gift, and
Yes.
everybody's going to be happy.
I love that so much. My heart is fluttering. I'll close it up with something we didn't touch too much on, but romancing self. I have found a lot of joy in a practice of taking myself out on dates and doing things for myself to really like just love on me, right? There is something so sweet that I've found in that, whether that's getting myself some flowers or that's like lighting some candles and making like a romantic environment, or like sometimes I'll even take myself out and get a glass of wine, which I don't usually drink very much, but like something about having a glass of wine at dinner by myself is just like, I can just sit there with myself and just, mm, romance myself. And it's kind of awkward at first when I first started doing that. I don't do it all the time, but the times that I have, it's been really sweet and really like just filling in my heart. And so I think that there is something magical about romancing ourselves as well. And then we can show up to whether it's our partnership or the dating world, from that place of knowing I'm already whole. I feel full within myself, and I can give from that place of overflow. Hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I am just in love with you guys, in love with this
Hmm.
process. My heart is so full. I love having these conversations with you guys. Thank you, everyone out there, for listening, and would love for you guys to find us more out in the world. So we all share in different ways, that we shared a little in the beginning, but maybe a little more insight into where to find you guys, so that way you guys can just stay up to date.
Well, I am easily found on the internet at johnstin.com, JOHNSTYN.com. And that's got my t shirt store, a free sticker offer, information on my coaching, and my YouTube channel. And oh boy, lots of goodies. You should really visit
Mm,
johnstin.com.
yeah. Yeah, interwebs. And
Nice.
also on your love mornings.
Yes, there's a link to I have a 9 a.m., a noon, and a 6 p.m. Live every day. So I'd love to see your face.
Mm.
Great, great. So, yeah, as mentioned, I've got a nutritional supplement company called New World Nutritionals, spelled NU World Nutritionals.com. And we have some mushroom based products that are designed to improve your state of mind, or they help alleviate symptoms of, let's say, anxiety, depression, ADHD, even PTSD in some cases. There's some people getting really good results with dealing with neurological ailments, dementia, Parkinson's, things like that. So yeah, that's it's a good product doing some good work in the world. Happy to be sharing that with you. So check it out, and if you are interested, you can use the code SPARKED to get 10% off of our products.
Boom.
Boom.
I love it. And you guys can find me on all the socials, of course, Instagram, Betsy Who, and follow me on one of my other favorite social apps is Insight Timer. It's a meditation app. I have lots of audio affirmations on there to promote self-love and inner empowerment. So check that out. Also, my project, poweraffirmation.com, has a journal that helps you fall in love with yourself, helps you reprogram limiting beliefs about yourself. There's also virtual programs that I run and do empowerment calls. And I also work with people one-on-one doing retreats and body work, healing work, energy work. I just am here in service to raise the vibration, more light, more love, more joy, more positivity. And so, yeah, you guys can find me on my website. And of course, Sparked is the discount code, and we got a free gift for you guys as well in the show notes. So thank you guys so much for following us, for sending us messages. We love hearing from you. If you've been enjoying these, please do reach out. We're also open to receiving some requests on topics. We love getting to have these conversations. And if there's certain things that you want to hear us talk about, let us know.
Indeed, indeed. So, Betsy, can you close this
Mm,
out with a affirmation to send us on our way?
My pleasure. Yes. Close it out with an affirmation. So let's tune in to what is that affirmation for us today? So closing the eyes, if that's available to you, taking a nice deep breath and maybe putting a hand on the heart. Mm. I love being me, and I love sharing my love with others. I love being me, and I love sharing my love with others. I love being me, and I love sharing my love with others. I find creative and authentic ways to express my love. I find creative and authentic ways to express my love. I am authentic and creative in the ways I express my love. I love finding new ways to express my love. I love finding new ways to express my love. I love finding new ways to express my love. Let those words just be reminders that it is a beautiful and fun way to be able to light the people up in our lives with creativity and authenticity and our lighting our own self up. I love you guys. Thank you for listening.
Love you too, B. Stay spark, people.